guys, it's me, Michelle. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to another episode of Real Metal Talk. Today, you read the title, you know what's going on. Seems to be my intro now. I never really planned that, but I don't know. Anyway, yeah, you know what's going on here. We're doing sewing 101. Probably gonna do multiple videos, like on this stuff and on like a battle vest or whatever you want to call it, you know, your jacket with your patches, your metal bands or whatever it is. So yeah, I'm going to be showing you the like ins and outs of sewing. You know, I'm going to be starting off this part 1, basics, like how to sew this, how do you do this thing. You can see the lighter in my hand. I will explain all of what that's about in a minute, but first of all I would like to say that not really trigger warning, but I guess like just trigger, content warning, whatever it may be, you know, I don't know your situation. Obviously we're sewing, you're going to see needles. I use dental floss, so I don't think that's anything worth mentioning, but just in case. I will be burning the dental floss with a lighter. If that triggers you, if you don't like that content, you don't have to watch it, that's okay, but just so you know. You're going to see me sewing, you're going to see me pinning the fabric, you know, anything like that. Basically just needles and things like that. You know, the rest of it is pretty standard stuff, some fabric glue and things like that. So yeah, let's get right into the video. Okay, so this is basically just a sped up version of me sewing on my Mayhem patch onto my black metal vest, just to give you an idea of my technique and stuff before you commit to watching the whole video. I will show better angles and I will sew in real time, so if you're sewing along with me you can do that. Alright, so here's me preparing my materials for using fabric glue and the sewing method for a patch on my backpack. So basically there's the patch. Here's the brand of fabric glue I used, which I used way too much of, but anyway, it seemed to work well enough. And here lastly is my Oral-B dental floss, which I will use to help me sew. And also here is my floss with a needle on it. I will show you how to thread the needle later in the video, but for this I'm just speeding up the process, so yeah. Alright, so here's basically kind of me showing off where I want to put the patch and myself deciding. So this is an iron-on patch with glue on the back, but I like to just reinforce it with some stitching, and I said I'd try out the fabric glue as well. So basically I'm about to put it on here, as you can see me indicating that there, but I put on way too much. Like, you can literally see the sheer amount there, and my hand in the way because I'm trying to like mop it up. But oh god, yeah, it was too much. But nevertheless, I put down the patch and I press it down to make sure it is secure, and that is when the glue starts flooding out and you realise you've done something wrong. This, you know, it took a little fixing for me to get right, but for a first try I definitely learned, and that just goes to show that you're always going to learn things as you're doing DIY. This clip is important because it's just showing me putting a glasses case under it, for me to make sure that I don't sew the pockets together. But what I will say is that I should have waited for the fabric glue to dry, and if I were to do this again, then I would definitely take more precautions and use less glue. But it worked out okay in the end, and right now you can still see some staining from the glue, but all in all it's good. Another patch onto the pocket here. I'm using my fabric glue. Ignore the crusty glue hands, disgusting, I know. And this is another iron-on patch, which I didn't iron on because they never really stick. Me using safety pins as well here, just to really make sure it's down. And then I start sewing. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the basics here. Like, if you're sewing along with me, which I invite you to do, if you got some patches built up that you would like on your vest, then go ahead and do that. So first thing you're going to need is a lighter. It's not necessarily like required, but if you're using my methods that I will be showing today, you will need a lighter. So then we're going to be sewing with this dental floss here. You can use any kind. The reason that people do this, it kind of originated in kind of punk community really and stuff, like before metalheads did it and things. But basically what it is it's cheaper than embroidery thread, and if you're trying to make the patches last on your clothes, then you are going to want to use you know, you can be using normal thread really, because you could double it up. If you want to do that, you're more than welcome to do that, of course, or you can just use embroidery thread. It's only a few cents difference over here in Europe. I don't know about like the US and stuff like that, but basically I like to stick to the traditional method with that, so that's why I do this. It's also just easily accessible as well. Some people, like, they'll have to go to a craft shop for the thread, but I can go to any gas station, petrol station, whatever you want to call it, and I can pick this up. So it just works if I'm going to be in a place where I consistently need it. So we have that. The lighter is to melt the ends off of that, because, you know, obviously you're going to be tying it off and you're going to be needing to burn away the edges, and because it's kind of plastic, it melts, so that is why we use this. Also, and be very safe with that, by the way, disclaimer, whatever, like, you know, not responsible for casualties or anything, but yeah. The other thing I need to say about this is that some people do use fishing wire as well. Anything that's kind of plasticky, durable and strong. Yeah, I know plastic is terrible for the environment, but at least we can use it in a different kind of way. So yeah, use this. Also, minty fresh smell to your clothes, you know. It might not be a good thing if you don't like mint, but anyway. So then your pins. I have a box here where I use everything with. Just your standard kind of sewing pins. I don't really need to show these, you know, you can check them out. Also, use safety pins if you're trying to be safe. I'm just used to using these ones because my mother used to sew, so she had like the sewing box of pins, and I kind of grew up when I try do projects for school or anything like that, I would be using these stuff. I would be using these pins. But, you know, if you're like a beginner, like, and you're kind of scared to like prick yourself or whatever it may be, definitely maybe use safety pins because they work just as well. So basically you can use whatever kind of patches you want. I mean, I did a few videos where I actually touched on it, all in this Real Metal Talk playlist. So if you're new here, then you can go check that out. And yeah, of course, lastly, you're going to need some patches in the fabric. And the first thing you're going to want to do is plan them out on your vest. If you're like me and you're too excited to start sewing, then you're not going to have done that. So this here is a work in progress, really. I showed it off in one of my other videos, but if I don't like calling it a black metal vest because it only really has a few patches like that. So some political statements as well, you know, against animal testing and all this stuff. I have patches currently ordered for this vest. I got a Death Crush back patch, basic maybe, I know, but I'm a huge fan of Death Crush. I think Mayhem peaked with that EP, and it's something that really got me into black metal, so I think it's just like my favourite album overall as like a collective piece. So I'm going to be showing you a few different sewing projects today. One in particular is my backpack that I'm currently working on. However, I got this patch as well. So what this is it's the Russian Sleep Experiment Creepypasta patch guy thing. Yeah, I don't even know, but like, it's cool as fuck. So it's going on the vest. So this is basically a patch that could fray because the edges are kind of cut clean. See here, you can see that like that part is start to come off and fray. So today I'm going to show you how you know, like, these are the type of patches, like how they differ from these ones which are embroidery here. But by the way, I still sew these on and you'll see that throughout the rest of the video. But I will show you how to stop these patches from fraying, and yeah, I'm going to show you like step by step how to get it on your vest or whatever it is, and you're going to see me trying out different methods too. I do test out fabric glue in this video because I did, like, I recorded this bit a few months ago and I've just been procrastinating making this video. But yeah, the fabric glue doesn't go too well for me. I kind of use too much of it. You'll see if you skip on in the video. So yeah, okay, let's get sewing. Okay, so first thing I'm going to show you how to do is how to stop your patches from fraying. I'll throw my jacket away here for a minute so I have the full space to show you this. So as you can see, square cut piece of fabric, durable, not as thin as some ones that I've seen being sold, but it doesn't really matter what type you have anyway. Like, this method will just work to line any patch. So basically what you're going to want to do is make sure you don't like get rid of the detailing on the patch. Like, see the top of his head here, like I could curl it down like this and it would be really durable, but then the downside of that is that you lose the detailing of his head. So you got to decide and see how much of the actual picture of my patch am I willing to sacrifice. If you make your patches at home, which I will also do a video on, then you should be leaving like space on the fabric for yourself to fold over, because like look here, now I'm gonna have to cut out bits and pieces of this design. So I'm gonna show you how to pin this, and then I'll come back on screen when it's all pinned and show you what the next step is. Alright, so now we are done and our patch is fully pinned at the edges. As you can see, it's really kind of curled up, and that is because maybe I just did them a little bit too tight, but I will loosen it out when it is sewing, when it's being sewed, so it'll all work out okay. But basically, yeah, like I showed you pretty much like the entirety of the process there. The only thing I will say is that I did kind of use, because these pins are old, right, so I used the technique where I kind of like used the table to help me push them upwards into the fabric, because the fabric was maybe a little bit thicker than I had anticipated. So don't do that. I would say I did it kind of out of habit. I didn't realize I was doing it, to be honest, until I watched it back, of course. But yeah, if you're going to be doing that kind of stuff and the fabric is old, maybe it's a bit like hard to push the pin through, either get thicker pins, or I would definitely suggest that you use a thimble, you know, those metal things that go on your thumb, and you can help push it up from there. You'll also see that these pins are fairly battered, some of them are circular. I work with what I have, you know, doesn't bother me, but I'm just being safe and careful with what I have. So yeah, don't come at me, I guess, for my wonky pins. But basically this is now a bit slanted, but this is the patch, and we're gonna sew this off first, sew off the edges nice and clean, and then I will show you how to put it on the jacket. And I'm at my desk now, so I'm ready to sew. But for those of you who have problems threading a needle, you can use a needle threader. Pick them up pretty cheap, you know, but also I find personally that I always used to struggle doing it in school with thread and that, but with this dental floss it is 10 times easier, for me at least anyway. Okay, so I used a different brand than I normally use, and that didn't work for me. So I use Oral-B because it's nice and thin. Obviously not sponsored, this isn't even how you're meant to use Oral-B, you know, but just in case. So all you gotta do here is just literally insert it into the hole. Also, obviously, if it's not going in, then you might have to wet it a bit. Maybe you have to burn the end off if it gets frayed. But yeah, basically just go like this and it should go in. If not, use needle threader. Okay guys, so I got it on the needle. So yeah, I also burnt a needle in the process. This, like, I literally thought I was gonna catch my whole house on fire. So I'm tying a knot here at the end where I put it through the hole of the needle. So just like this. There's a little knot there. So what I like to do, apparently you're not meant to do this, but I like to do this. So come to the end here, and I'm going to tie another knot just for security, because I feel like sometimes it just comes out and it undoes all your hard work. So yeah, there we have our needle with the 2 knots on either end, and now we can finally start sewing the edges. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys how to sew the edges of your patch. So nice and neatly here. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but we have the knot right there. You have your needle here and the knot at the other end, of course. So now what you want to do is come to the back here, okay, and you can do a couple of different types of stitches, but for this I like to keep it nice and basic. Use you know, the minimum amount of floss that I can, and it's just doing a bit of resistance there. So I'm gonna start down here. I'm using my table technique. Don't do this, guys. But yeah, there you go, nice and gently. So now it's in onto the front side of the fabric. So what you want to do is pull that through nice and gently here. If you tug gently enough, you will feel the knot kind of show up there at the end, and that is the point where you can leave it like this. So now we have essentially penetrated the other side. So what we're going to do here is just carry on down. You know, I like to make my stitches nice and neat and even, or whatever, you know, and just put it in so that like this, where it came up, and then down next to it. They say that if you are right-handed, you should sew with obviously with your right hand, but they say you should sew going left, but I don't even know if I do that, to be honest. I just kind of do what I feel. Okay, so obviously again, table technique, one that I kind of invented myself out of pure necessity, with some resistance from the fabrics. But don't do that, and try to make your stitches even size. See here, it's like you can count out like a fingertip gap between each of my stitches. So if you do that, then that should just be more nice and like an aesthetic sense of the word. So yeah, you can see there are 2 stitches, and now this part I can remove the pin safely. Remove the pin, and here we are. Now we have 2 at the start. So I'm gonna go do this all around the edges here, and I'll be back to show you how to remove, you know, all the wax, not wax, I'll be back to show you how to remove all of the dental floss and everything you need to do to get rid of the unnecessary parts of the stitching. Okay, so we're back, and I have safely removed all of my pins, oh, except for this one. So basically, here is the finished product. You know, some varying sizes of stitches and stuff. I did make an error there, but I decided not to correct the mistake because it is white fabric on obviously the dental floss, which is white as well, so that's just my prerogative. But if you would like to fix it, all you have to do is cut it off and tie on a new set of floss. So basically we're going to remove this here. I think my CD just ended, but it's okay. We're going to remove this here. Okay, so now we need to make a knot. So go out the back of the fabric, and then we're going to come up right next to it. Okay, so now as you can see, we just made an additional last stitch here, and then we came up from outside the back, if that makes sense. So now we are going to get closer to the camera here. So we're going to insert into the last stitch we made. Make sure you don't get caught on the fabric. You are just literally sliding it in under this. See how there it's not tied to the fabric at all, it's just in the stitch. So that's what you want to do, and then bring that all the way in and tie that like that, and that's your knot. So then you just want to double up on this. Usually I just do as many as my thread will honestly hold, because it's just the more you do it, the sturdier you do it. If you really want to catch it on the fabric, you can, as that will make it strengthened again. But I don't think it's a necessity whatsoever. And to be honest, like, I usually when I melt off the wax, sometimes it ends up coming apart or something. That just means you gotta, you know, get creative with it, maybe do it again. It depends. So as you can see, just pull that back here. Now it's not as tight as it once was. You know, remember the way it was all curled up like this? It is now gone. That was just the pressure from, you know, the pins. And then all the edges here are more or less kind of back like that. So we also achieved that without managing to ruin some of the design. Like, most of it is still intact, and all the fraying is kept in neatly back here, so that's fine. So this will be what's facing, like, this will be what's sewn into our fabric. But like your vest or whatever, or your backpack, whatever you're putting it on. So basically the only thing that I have to say, like, about this process other than that, is this thing here. So if, like, this, if you remember correctly, this was the start of what we did, like, to the fabric, where we tied the knot so that the floss doesn't come out. So if you want to burn that off, you can. I usually don't. I usually kind of just tuck it in behind here, because it's not really bothering anyone. But if you want to do that, I'll show you how to do that next. So let me go grab a scissors, and I will be back to show you how to properly tie off this part of the sewing. Okay, so we are back. I have my scissors here. It, albeit a kid's scissors, but you know, what can you do? It's a bit, like, disgusting, to be honest. It has, like, old glue from, like, when I was a child and stuff on it, but you know, it'll do the trick. So basically, as close as you can get here to the knot. So if you want to kind of grab it here, see, I have it held there with my other finger, pull it tight and cut, so that there we have it. And I'm going to just move this here like that. So now here, this is our knot here, and you have the piece of thread coming up like that. And you can just take this out of the needle and discard this the correct way. Okay, so now we're going to do the lighter part. So I need to move my camera back a bit for this. So basically, what you want to do is be really careful with the lighter. I'm doing this on top of my, like, under my phone, so I'm watching what I'm doing through my phone. I'm actually going to look to the side, so just, you know, to show, like, it's going to be dangerous, basically. So obviously, if you don't want to handle the fire, you could just leave it like this. You could leave it that way. You could put a pin in it or something. Maybe ask somebody with a lighter to do for you. You know, basically just roll this. You know, this isn't a lighter tutorial, but yeah, basically all you do is roll this and hold down the button. You have to do it really fast. And okay, so I'm going to hold the fabric with one hand, and then here you go, see, and I'm just going to scorch it a bit. So that was plenty. So now you'll see this kind of brownish residue. That's just the kind of part of the dental floss melting, but it actually doesn't really damage the patch other than this little brown blob here. And it's really effective because it hardens as it dries, and then that will be sealed off. So now the knot is sealed, and it looks a lot cleaner than it did when the little white bit was sticking out of it. So now we have our perfect patch, and we're ready to sew it onto the jacket. I have a patch tutorial, like, from my backpack, so I don't know if I'm going to show the full process, but I'll definitely show you snippets and give you tips along the way. A little bonus here, basically with the patch, like, I like everything on my black metal vest to be neat. As you can see here, this sewing is not neat, but the rest of the stuff will be. So yeah, I think I am going to do this patch down on kind of like the center, really, of my vest. So I think I want it down here by this animal testing patch. So I'm going to do is I'm just going to pin that on, and then I'll be back after I have it sewn. Okay, so just a few things here as I'm sewing this on. I'm sewing it onto a pocket, so I have actually the envelope that it came in here because it's very sturdy. Just a piece of cardboard or anything like that will do, beer box, whatever your standard is. And then yeah, so you just want to basically put your hand, like you can insert it inside the pocket to guide yourself. Also with needles, some people do use an embroidery needle because it's curved and they feel that it helps them better, but I just use plain needles because I'm used to that. So for this stitch, what I'm going to be doing is basically, you saw I came up there and then I'm going to be going down, so it creates like basically what I like to call like a noticeable stitch, because you can see there that is a stitch, you know, like, and it is done for aesthetic reasons purely. When I do it, like, it's done on purpose. Like, I know you can do invisible stitching, but I like my jackets to have a bit of character, and I think that this is a really nice way to do it. So my needle is bent as well, so I'm kind of struggling here with bits and pieces of it, but you just got to pinch the fabric and make sure that it goes in, but it still won't. So you can use the fabric to support you too, but just be careful. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing. I'm just going to repeat what I did before. Some areas, especially with denim like this, may be thicker than others. So that is something to consider with your patch placement. See, this is really like zigzaggy stitches and it's really like uneven, but that's something that I like about it. So yeah, you can also Google like punk stitches and stuff like that. Like punks do specific types of stitching. Or you can Google other metalhead people online who do basically sewing videos similar to what I'm doing right now. But this is kind of a mediocre guide. The other stuff might be a bit more detailed. I don't know if I'm explaining it in the right way for some people, but I don't know. This is just how I would pass it on to somebody. Yeah, I think it's important to be careful and keep your wits about you when you're sewing, because you never know when, you know, you're gonna accidentally hit yourself or something. So I can see that my pinning was actually a little off here. Like you can see that here, like I want it to be in line with this part of the jacket, and then it's coming over here and it's going wonky. So what I'm going to do is just remove the pin and I'll just fix it up. You can sew this as many times as you like, which is one of the, oh, just flicked it onto the jacket. Here we are. So it's one of the things that I just love about patches, is that once you stick it down there, like, it's not permanent at all, you know. With sewing, you can undo it as many times as you want, as long as it's you know, as long as you want to keep redoing it, you can, and I think that's great. So I'm gonna line it up here. That's a bit better lined up. Sometimes you just have to do it by eye, you know, to tell you the truth here. Like, it doesn't always work to be too overly calculated with it. Sometimes that'll actually cause you more harm in the process and annoyance with yourself, because you'll just be like, oh my god, I'm never gonna get this done. But see, this is going pretty smoothly for me here. And you can actually do it like I am right now. As you can hear in the background probably, I'm listening to some music. I'm a CD collector if you're new here, so I'm listening to some of my CDs as I sew, and that's something that most metalheads, I feel like, will probably do when they go home. Like, they'll sew at home, work on their jackets, vests, whatever it is, with their patches, maybe studs and spikes on their jackets or whatever, and yeah, just jam out to some tunes. And I think that's a really nice part of the community. Like, it's something that you can do by yourself, but it's definitely a hobby. But these jackets are investments too, because some of the patches, like, if you're not making them yourself, they're expensive. But something that I love to do is support small businesses on places like Etsy and things like that. So this patch in particular was from Etsy, and then I have 2 more ordered from a different Etsy shop. Queer creators, you know, vegan patches and stuff. I'm not vegan myself, but, you know, if I could be, I would be, kind of a thing. So I think it's important to support, like, small creators, black creators, LGBT creators, you know, anything like that. So definitely, if you're not making your patches yourself, then go ahead and check out some other stuff. I do a bit of both, you know, like for my patches, I like to make them too. I've dabbled in the idea of selling them before, but I'm kind of not ready to be doing that like whole small business thing yet. Like, I'm just at a place in my life where I don't know if I'd have time to fully commit to it. So that is basically why I haven't, you know, sold my patches yet. But I have a few different sites going, just in case I ever want to sell my patches. So yeah, I will probably do a whole video on making my patches, to be honest. Like, I feel like that would be a whole other part to this mini series, really, what it is in Real Metal Talk. I'm just going to keep doing like sewing continued, you know, and stuff like that. So I'm going to hope that that goes well. So yeah, some of these stitches are probably not as like out there as I would like them to be, but it's a consistent style along the jacket, and that's something that I really appreciate and I really like. So what I'm going to do is just I'm not going to make you watch me sew the whole thing. I'm just going to continue on here and I'll come back when it's done. So yeah. Okay guys, so here is the finished product. So this patch is now on the pocket of my black metal jacket and I'm really happy with it. So some of the stitching I could have done a little better, I think, but you know what, it's the aesthetic at the end of the day. Okay, look, I don't really mind about that kind of stuff. So now I'm just going to try it on for you guys and, you know, show you kind of a tour of the jacket, really. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.